Well, then, thank you very much for all day. The time was short, but finally, we have come to the final moment at the Kunibiki Messe. Always I'm in charge of the closing ceremony, and also this year I will do this the same. But compared with the Kunibiki Messe, this place is much smaller, but I'm more nervous than ever. Let me start the closing ceremony. Now, the number of viewers was 475 people. At the Kunibiki Messe, the number of visitors is about this number, so the scale is the same, didn't change as before. And this is the purpose of the organizing this the conference. This is the summary. The coronavirus has changed dramatically the world in which we live. And this is the 12th Ruby World Conference 2020, and no exception to that. And therefore, we decided to hold this the conference for the first time online. And also, scale was reduced to just 1 day. Originally, this conference was intended to invite many people from all over the world to the hometown of Ruby, Matsue, to have exchanges directly and create friendship and expand the community. However, the world has changed. What we can do has changed, and we have to respond hardly to this world. And Ruby has created the world, and this is a new page, and we will uh, participate in this process actively. Welcome to this new world, and let's make this world better together. That is the summary of the purpose of this conference and the Ruby World Conference this year. These are the organizations, totally 11 organizations, which constitute the organizing committee for this conference. And these are the members of the advisors, Maruyama, governor, and Matsura, Mayor Matsura, and the rector of the Shimane University, Hattori, and the Matsue Institute of Technology, the president Otsu, and Mr. Fuchigami, the Chubu Industrial Bureau of the Economic Ministry of Japan. And these are the members to the organizing committee of the Ruby World Conference to proceed with the project. These are the 11 people representing the committee for the review of the program, and they selected the speakers for today. Special sponsor is the Shimane Prefecture and the city of Matsue, representing the two local governments. Now these are the list of the organizations and the companies, platinum sponsors listed here. And now you are looking at the gold sponsors and a little bit more. These are the list of the gold sponsors. And this is the list of the silver sponsors. So altogether, 54 organizations co-sponsored this conference. I would like to express my deepest appreciation for your support. Now, this year again, Ichibata Tenki Tetsudo was in charge of the secretariat. Thank you. And around the secretariat, there were 9 working groups, 9 times for the preparation of today's conference. For today, Ichibata-san, we are four persons representing Ichibata, very active and worked so hard. And Samo International has provided interpretation, simultaneous, but consecutive translation. And NTT Plara, ECO were in charge of the transmission of the video and images. And SNS, uh, the find the technologies, these two persons were in charge of the SNS. And at the opening ceremony, Matsumoto-san said that we have to change it. It's a new style for the opportunities. Governor Maruyama talked about IT support and the support for Ruby, and Mayor Matsura said that Ruby is a gem. Let's support it. And he introduced the Matsue project. Keynote lecture. The first one is presented by Matsumoto-san, Ruby 3 and beyond. Ruby 3 is going to be released and then go through the evolution, and Ruby will survive and never die. Thank you. Very encouraging message. Followed by Ruby Prize 2020. Finalists included Miura-san, Jeremy Evans-san, and Matsumoto-san. And as a result of the examination, the Jeremy Evans was selected as a prize winner. The last year he was one of the finalists, and this year he was awarded with the Ruby Prize for the release of Ruby 3. Congratulations. And these are the speakers. First, starting with Io-san regarding the data science and the AI and education, Ruby on Rails are used. Followed by Samuel Wilson, talking about the scalable wearable device, Falcon, and Ruby 3. And there will be the great expectation towards this technology. And he wants many people to use it and waiting for the feedback. Osaki-san is the next speaker. Using the Ruby other features, the unique programming is very important. Followed by the presentation by Ferris, Nagai-san, Chiji-san, Uchida-san, Horike-san. Talked about the non-expert students, very important, have the IT literacy. Talked about the utility or usefulness of the IT education for non-IT students. Aoza Sasaya-san talked about the IoT and small b, possibility of it. Ogura-san talked about Bruce B/3, our board. He talked about the possibility of the IoT. John Chun Chen talked about open source game server. And the coding and the licensing, he introduced various activities regarding this. And then Sakamoto-san talked about the vulnerability of the red line and diagnose, and the Commodore has used very cool, and I was very much impressed by that. And the red line, the credibility of that security was enhanced. Yasukawa-san talked about the possibility of continuing to make teaching material using Ruby as a standalone business, continue to make the Ruby teaching material. The, this is going to be the key of the development and the dissemination of Ruby and Ruby on Rails. So Yasukawa-san, I hope that he's going to improve the teaching materials using Ruby and Ruby on Rails. And followed by question and answer session. Thank you for questions, many questions, which led to the even deeper understanding of the contents of the lectures. The second keynote lecture, David Heinemeier Hansen. This is the 12th conference, and finally he was with us. And David Heinemeier Hansen talked about the love toward Ruby and Ruby on Rails, and he talked about the various ideas, and this has been inspired and realized via Ruby. Thank you very much, and next year and the following years, if we should be able to hold the conference at Kunibiki Messe, please come to Japan and let's meet again in the future. And Ishihara Miya-san is MC. Thank you. And thank you for your work. So it's been a short one day with a full content, and I would like to thank viewers sincerely. And the next year, we really hope that we would be able to meet you in person. With this, I would like to close this conference and see you next year. Thank you so much. Ruby World Conference. The Vice Chairman of the Organizing Committee, Inoue-san, closed the conference with this. All of the program has been completed. Because of the coronavirus, in order to prevent the infection, we cancelled the conference with real participants, and this has been conducted online. And the organizing committee hope that this situation will end as quickly as possible, and also expansion of the use of Ruby in the business. And next year, we want to meet you in Shimane Prefecture. And I sincerely wish that this conference would lead to the use of Ruby in your respective business. With this, I'd like to say goodbye. Matsumoto-san, next year, let's meet all of the people and listen to you directly. So with this, I'd like to thank all of you and goodbye.